Right, this is an absolutely disgusting story. This is the story on the BBC that nearly 14,000 disabled people have their mobility cars taken away. Nearly 14,000 disabled people who rely on a specialist motoring allowance have had their cars taken away from them following government welfare changes. Figures seen by the BBC show almost half of those having to be reassessed for this support under the changes lost their mobility vehicle. Many have been adapted to meet their owners' needs, and campaigners warn it could lead to a loss of independence. But the government says the new process is fairer and people can appeal. More than 650,000 people currently use the mobility scheme, which allows disabled people to lease a new car, scooter or powered wheelchair using their government-funded mobility allowance. The scheme also helps towards the cost of adaptations, such as a hoist for a wheelchair or hand controls that the individual requires. Now, this story is just ridiculous, how many people they've taken their mobility allowance from that actually need this, okay, that have got problems. And what they're doing is saying if you've had it taken away, you can just appeal, which is what this woman did here. Now, this woman, despite being an amputee with spina bifida, who is only able to take a few steps, Christine Mitchell did not score the points she needed to keep her mobility car. So this woman is an amputee and she's got spina bifida, and she was not allowed, she was not awarded the points that she needed to keep her car. What the fuck? She appealed and she eventually won, but she's extremely critical of the reassessment process. So how much are all these reassessments going to cost? You know, if they're taking points away from people who are amputees, they've got spina bifida, you know, these people have got problems and they deserve to have some sort of access to a vehicle where they don't have to be, you know, lose their independence. They can still be active in the community and feel, you know, they've got some normality around them. And to have this taken away by the government and to just say, oh, you can go and get yourself reassessed now, and having to go to all that trouble. This poor woman, she's an amputee. She's got spina bifida. She had to go to all the problems of going to get herself reassessed. And of course, naturally, they gave her back her benefit. But for her to have to go through that in the first place, this is ridiculous. And just take a look at this as well. This is a story here on autoexpress.co.uk. MPs claimed 4.3 million in motoring expenses in past 3 years. Shock figures uncover MPs' expense claims for tolls, parking and the London congestion charge. Britain's members of parliament have racked up nearly 4.3 million in motor-related expense claims in the past 3 years. Taxpayers have been asked to foot the bill for MPs' yearly expenditure for claims such as parking, the London congestion charge and toll fees, plus the use of their own vehicles. Auto Express has calculated totals for each of the 11 regions, defining the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, IPSA, with around 1.4 million claimed by MPs per year, an average of 130,000 per region, while MPs in the South West claimed the most in 2014 to 15 at 179,629. Our data reveals the 28 MPs in the West Midlands have the highest expense bill over the past 3 years. The region's MPs claimed 550,305 on motoring expenses from 2012 to 2015, a yearly average of £6,550 per MP. Okay, so they're doing all of this and getting all this money from us, whilst they are taking away money from people who deserve to have this because they have got mobility problems. They are racking up 4.3 million. 4.3 million of our taxpayers' money, whilst they're taking away £57.45p per week from somebody who has this mobility. How does that make any sense at all? And it's like, when are people going to wake up and say, do you know what, this is enough, they're taking the piss. 4.3 million the MPs have claimed in expenses to do with motoring. The government hopes to save 2 billion as a result of the switch from DLA to PIPs. These are the people who are going to be doing the reassessments. And I wonder how much of that money the government gets. Who's getting the money here? What's happening? How much is it going to cost to do these reassessments? What's really happening here? And once again, it's just making the divide even greater, because you've got MPs claiming 4.3 million whilst they're trying to take away £57.45 per week from people who deserve to have this. A woman who was an amputee and she had spina bifida, for God's sake. It's disgusting, and it's time to wake up. Peace out. What the fuck?